Hello, this is Tom Cloud with a special report for SRS listeners. Steve St. Angelo and I had special time last week to catch up and talk about things in my world and his world, what he sees and what I see. And there's several subjects we want to bring to your attention you may or may not know. I want to start with platinum. We have really been getting calls about platinum. I've given a buy signal last summer of 2019, first at 721 was the spot price, and then the second time it's 756, and it ran all the way up to 900 early this year until the coronavirus situation happened, and then we saw demand start dropping for catalytic converter usage, and we saw the price start going down to where it went back to 2012 levels as it fell back to the mid 600s. It dropped 20% during the early parts of the coronavirus situation. But now we've seen it make a strong comeback to where it is now the spot price is 806 just in a few days. What you may or may not know about platinum is it's 45 times more rare than gold. In 35 of the last 44 years, platinum has sold, the spot price for the year has been higher than gold. And now you got one at 800, one at 1750, so it's 55% below gold. I have never seen a screaming buy signal like I see for platinum right now. Yes, if the world economy goes into a recession, you could see the price go back into the 600s. But if everybody keeps printing money and chasing it, and the catalytic converter usage goes, but the new one that is driving the price, and let me read it, it's easier than guessing, is the newest use for platinum. There's a silver lining for platinum demand on the medical front. Researchers continue to use the metal to combat some of the world's most pressing health issues, including the fight against COVID-19. Platinum is the material of choice for electrodes in blood and gas analyzers. It's also being used by healthcare professionals for crucial tools for treating COVID-19 patients in hospitals. And it looks like there's endless numbers of things that are going to be used in the medical. We've also now see platinum being dripped through glass to give it the highest rating and the best strength it can have. So platinum has already been to 2,000 an ounce. I feel sure it's going to go back to at least 2,000 an ounce over the next few years. So if it does 12% a year, it'll double in 6 years based on the rule of 72. If you divide the return into 72, it tells you how long it takes an investment to double. So I thought you'd find the platinum situation important. And then the second thing Steve and I talked about was Stephen Roach, the economist at Yale University, who has an incredible record. And last Friday, he came out and says the US dollar is toast. He basically said it's going to be a huge drop. We've already seen it go from 123 down to 90. And we're talking about something down in the 72 range based on the basket of currencies that you use to analyze how the dollar is doing in the world market. So we look at the dollar as a certainty drop. Let me give you just one fact. China's 4.25 times bigger than the US in population, and they haven't spent but about 60% of what we spent. We've given unemployment checks. We've given stimulation in the economy checks. We've given everything. It's an election year. We're going to keep giving stuff away. While they sit over there with their $2.5 trillion of our debt, Japan sits over there with $2.5 trillion they bought. We have $5 trillion of debt they could cash in and destroy the dollar tomorrow. So what we're going to do is sit here and let it happen. But the point Roach made, and he's got an outstanding accuracy rate, is when it goes, metals are going to go like a rocket, like a rocket. So just be aware of it and know that we're not the only people talking about that. The other thing that's extremely interesting was a conversation Steve and I had about the daily deficit cost. From 2016 through 2019, 4 calendar years, the deficit averaged 4.25 billion per day. Multiply that times 365, and the deficit ran between 1.4 trillion and 1.7 trillion annually for those 4 years. 2020 we're 5 years into it. We're averaging 26 billion per day. Per day. We've already got up to 1.9 trillion, and we still got 7 months left in the year. Now, let's say because we gave so much to stimulus and unemployment and welfare and everything else in there, let's just say that they get it cut to 13 billion a day, which they won't this year, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So you take 13 billion per day rest of the way, using the 26 billion that's already been used the first 5 months, we're looking at somewhere between 6.5 and $7 trillion budget deficit for the 2020 year, calendar year, not fiscal year, but calendar year. So what do you think that's going to do to the dollar? We know what it's going to do to the dollar. We hope you know what it's going to do to the dollar, and you're making the adjustments. But just go on usdebtclock.org. I've talked about it in these special reports, and go look at the deficit. Spend about 20 and 30 minutes in looking at the debt situation in this country, and you tell me where it's going. But my hope and prayer is that you've got enough sense to get whatever percentage you want in gold, silver, and platinum into it, and into it soon, because it's an election year and we're going to keep printing money and look like that. Now, I think I've covered the main thing. Steve did an incredible job on his Peruvian silver supply, where it averaged the last 12 months 320 something million ounces, metric tons, of silver, and then it only had 85 with a 75% reduction in the last month's figures. So watch it and use your common sense. The two last things I want to talk about in this special report for SRS listeners is baby boomers like myself that are reaching retirement age and taking their 401ks and building. This is the fastest growing part of our business. They're taking their 401ks out and making it into 2 self-directed IRAs, one for precious metals, physical precious metals, and the others for their traditional stocks, bonds, and cash. So we can help you. We can't be a custodian, but we can be your representative. We can be your broker, and the low fees that we charge for commissions compared to anybody else, we're going to have you way ahead of the game. So we'll always happy to talk to you. Dan or I at 800-247-2812. We think it's very important, especially for these baby boomers that are coming out, to get 2 self-directed IRAs from 1 401k, because you can't own precious metals, physical ones, and you don't want an ETF. I can spend the next hour telling you the horror stories, but we're going to let you know that we're talking about physical metals. And then the last thing to mention, so once again, just call us at 800-247-2812. We'll give you some of the best custodians that you can use. We can be your broker. We can be your representative in the IRAs. So the last thing to mention is, what if you have access in your checking accounts, corporate accounts, $250,000 or more? People, your money's at risk, and it's at risk big time. Just go back to Cyprus. Just remember, the money you put in the bank is not yours. You're a preferred lender, but it's not yours. The U.S. banking system will never bank out again. I want to give you some homework because I want you to do it yourself. Go look at the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation and see what percentage they have of assets compared to what they have insured. It is minuscule. But you go look yourself. It is minuscule. One major bank tumble and the game's over. Your money will be taken and you will have no recourse. This month marked, in my 44 years of running this company since I founded it in 1976, there has never been a bigger risk right now to your money that's over $250,000. So what we can do is we can help you set up an account at the lowest storage rates. And yes, you may have a 2 or 3% risk from just the fees, but that's it. And you want, when you need the money back, you can sign a piece of paper and have it back as quick as you want it, based on whether you want it wired or overnighted or just regular mail. But the point is this month that we're in right now marks the biggest month in our history of corporations and people moving their excess cash that they may or may not need in the next few months, but to get the complete safety with 100% metals back in that. And once again, when you want it, all you got to do is sign a transfer form that we'll prepare for you, and you can run that money, have it to buy a house, or you need it to expand your business or whatever. But I'm telling you, think about it now, because I've got churches calling. They're moving money. Churches are moving money into gold and silver and out of paper money, because the fiat currency has no way anywhere to go but down, and the US dollar has no place to go but down. And you've heard me say this and others say this, but remember, there's never been a currency in the history of civilization that existed that went off of gold standard. And we've been off of it since 1972. Our days are numbered. Nobody's going to buy our debt. Nobody's going to buy our debt. And what's going to happen when inflation kicks in from all this money being printed, and inflation kicks in and interest rates go back up? And let me close it with this thought. We just hit the interest rate on the debt at the lowest interest rate in American history, $500 billion a year in interest. So if you've got a debt of 1.7 trillion a year, go in and add 500 billion on the interest on all 22 trillion of the debt. 500 billion. One last perspective before I close. When Jimmy Carter got beat in 1980 because he had a budget that was unsatisfactory, it was $500 billion. Does it ring a bell? We now have a budget of over $4 trillion a year. The size of government's gone up 8 times. 8 times. And you just need to think about what I said today. Go look at usdebtclock.org. Go read the FDIC report. Look at the interest on the debt. Look at the debt spiraling. This year is going to be over $5 trillion for sure. It's going to be triple what it's ever been in American history. People, there are no pleasant ending to this story. My hope and prayer from both Steve and I is that you get your homework done and get positioned, because there's going to be some rough times ahead. And just remember, 8 billionaires made over $1 billion in the last 2 months, because all that money that's printed and given to the middle class, they know how to get it. They know the products, the stocks. They know how to get it just by running the price up. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to trickle down to where the little guy participates. Yes, he pays a few bills, and that's good. He buys his food, and that's good, but that's all he's going to get out of it. The billionaires get billions, and the rest of us get the crumbs. So hopefully there's been some things I've sparked your interest with, and Dan, who's been with me over 25 years, and I'm always available to talk to you. You can call us at 800-247-2812. And I just pray your families are doing well during this coronavirus, and that this certainly haven't seen the end of it. And the longer you wait to get positioned in your precious metals portfolio, whatever that is, the worse off you're going to be. So this special report for SRS listeners, this is Tom Cloud signing out.